Well, hello there, everybody. It is Gretchen, your mind, body, life coach. Thank you for whether you're watching this live now or you're going to go ahead and tune in to the Your Mind, Body, Life Coach podcast. I want to thank you for however and whenever you are catching this, that you take the time to listen. Today, I'm covering a topic. It is my favorite topic when it comes to fitness coaching because to me, it's like the missing link. It's the main missing link when it comes to addressing mindset. And that is what I call sneaky sabotage. Now, why do I call it sneaky? Well, it kind of sneaks up on us. It's the things that we're not aware of, whether it happens all the time, it's constantly in our life. Maybe it's a handful of other factors. I call it sneaky because that's what it is, and sabotage because that is exactly what happens to our plans when we allow these sneaky sabotaging factors to interrupt our plans. So if you're watching, you're going to see me looking down because I have notes down here and I'm not picking them up because I don't want to hear all the rustle of the pages as I record my podcast. But I want to create a picture for you guys. Imagine that maybe you've hired me or someone else to help you create a great workout program. And maybe you've added in one of our nutrition plans and you've had about 3 weeks and you're doing great. You've lost 6 pounds. You're feeling good. Your best friend's doing it with you and she's lost 10 pounds and you're looking at each other and you're like, oh, wow, you know what? Gretchen gave me this plan. And oh, your plan's a little bit different than mine, but we're doing great. And you're cheering each other on. And then week 3 comes in. And you and this friend, you're on your way home, maybe you're carpooling together from work and you get a flat tire. It takes forever for roadside assistance to come on through. And before you know it, you're home 2 hours later than you meant to be. It's way too late to start cooking dinner. As a matter of fact, you got to run one of your kids to a practice and get back. And the first thing that comes to mind is there's no time to prepare a meal. There is no time to do anything other than throw the kid in the car and get back on the road again, get moving. So we're just going to grab some quick food on the way out. And before you know it, you find that these types of occurrences happen all the time. And so that is an example of a sabotaging moment. It's one of those unexpected things. So I like people to start looking at this all the way through, but I usually start talking about it more with my clients, sabotage, around week 3 and 4, because that's when it's very easy to sort of let our guard down. The excitement over the newness of a new fitness or nutrition program can kind of wear down a little bit, and sabotaging things can interrupt us too easily. So I'm going to discuss a handful of things in this sabotage subject, which I've titled Sneaky Sabotage. Today we're discussing diets. I am going to be doing a handful of podcasts about sabotage, and I hope you will all tune in and enjoy it. So the first area of sabotage I'm going to talk about is what I call sabotaging diets. A lot of us can think of examples. I will give you guys an example of one that if you fell in love with the movie Dreamgirls, or if you know about what Beyonce did to get to lose the amount of weight she did for the role she took on for Dreamgirls, you might know where I'm going with this, and maybe you don't. Well, it was said that Beyonce used a method to lose weight rapidly called the Master Cleanse, and certainly she lost a lot of weight. She was quite thin. She looked stunning. She looked stunning anyway, but it was just a very rapid weight loss. She was later interviewed long after the movie saying this was not a good thing for her to do. Unfortunately, because so many women especially saw visible results, they would look and see they might do a little Google search. How did Beyonce lose the weight? Or that sort of thing. And then they'd see Master Cleanse, and then they start Googling the word Master Cleanse. And before you know it, they're doing the sabotaging diet that is destructive, that is starvation, and quite extreme. Now I can understand why a movie star may be compelled to do this, and perhaps that's someone who has the type of support system to help them through the steps of getting through it. But for most of us, that not only is it not good, it's destructive. I actually, back then, I was kind of new in my training career, and I was training a client who had actually asked me something like, Gretchen, what do you think about the Master Cleanse diet? I know a lot of people are doing it. It's very popular. And I let her know that I couldn't, in good conscience, recommend that she do this Master Cleanse diet. However, if she was going to do that, I was going to make sure that I let her know I did not want her meeting with me at that time, because I would be having her exercise, and she would be exercising with virtually no calories in her body for an extended period of time. Sure enough, this person actually decided she still wanted to do the Master Cleanse, and she felt that she still should exercise because she was extremely intent on losing a lot of weight very, very fast. And a morning soon thereafter, she passed out on me. Back then, here in Frederick, there was a place called Frederick Athletic Club, and that's where I was working. She was sitting on the stability ball. She stood up and she just popped right on over. By the way, that's my sound effects if you heard that. Fell right over on me. Her husband let me know at a later time that she had actually battled some eating disorders, or periods of time where she'd struggled with the same eating disorder of anorexia. And this seemed to be a manifestation of that. Now, not everyone who does these extreme cleanses are anorexic. So I'm not trying to imply that whatsoever, but I'm just saying these types of diets, I would say, are sabotaging. I know that many people swear by them. If that is something you are going to do, I would recommend that you speak with a dietitian rather than a nutritionist about it, for medical reasons. Now, I am not a dietitian. I want to say that, first of all. That being said, I do consult with dietitians, and I will never recommend something that I consider to be dangerous. As a precision nutrition coach, I really stand firm behind science-backed and balance in diets and in nutrition plans. Maybe they should be individualized and that type of thing. So sabotaging diets is that one huge thing that I think we need to look at when we're looking at how you might be sabotaging your goals. And the next thing, I call this, it worked for me last time diet. I frequently will ask a client, they say they want to lose weight, and might say, so how much weight would you like to lose? And let's say they want to lose 30 pounds. And I typically will say, well, when is the last time that you did weigh that much? Or what did you do the last time to lose weight? Or whatever that is. We'll ask what was going on in their lives. What did their lifestyles look like? How old were they? Were they athletes in college? Were they parents yet, if that's the case? And more often than not, we'll find that their lives, their bodies have so drastically changed since that last time that it's time to change things in a different way. Perhaps they need to do something more intensive or less intensive, something more restrictive, something less restrictive, whatever that is. I was speaking with another gentleman who he was in his 50s, and he was telling me how he ate when he was in college and high school, and how he would eat raw eggs, and he did all of these things. And that's how he, as he would say, stayed in shape. And we joked a little bit about that, because he talked to me about that because I called it the worked for me last time diet. And he said, oh yeah, I can't do what I did last time, because back then I would have, the raw eggs and whatever else. And so remember, what worked for you last time, it may not work for you this time. This is especially true for those of you who diet frequently, or it's been not a lot of time since you last dieted. As a matter of fact, someone tells me that they are dieting frequently, say, they dieted for 3 or 4 months early in the year, and then they stopped dieting for a few weeks, and they started again, on again, off again. I really want to try to find where their baseline is. Want to see, I'll often have them track their meals for 1 or 2 weeks to see the really right amount of nutrition they're taking in, and then rather focusing on calories in, calories out. I'm often going to look at the substance of that. Are you getting a good amount of fruits and vegetables in every day? Are you getting a good balance of complex carbohydrates and proteins? What does your social life look like? How do you balance that with your nutrition and that type of thing? So, for that client that might be dieting frequently, and they might say, well, the first time I did it, it worked. In all likelihood, it's getting a little bit harder each time you try to diet to keep losing that weight or to maintain a level of aesthetic goal that you want. So I'd like you to try to get to a really healthy baseline first. Make sure you're getting in plenty of fruits and vegetables on a regular basis. Make sure that your fiber intake is good. Make sure that you're getting in enough protein to help you repair and build muscle, and make sure that it's all balanced and it's fitting with what your lives look like. So, all you moms who are trying to look like you did when you were 16 years old in high school, and you've had a child and you've nursed a baby and you're balancing, maybe you're going to school and you're going to work and you're trying to do this whole pandemic at home with your kids, life's going to look a little different. So your nutrition is probably going to look a little different too. Give yourself a break and know it's okay to do something new this time. My least favorite diet, I can get on plenty of soapbox. If someone shares with me some Netflix special, and I'm telling you, if something goes on Netflix, it becomes the popular diet for a year or two. We saw it in just about every special dealing with food that comes to these sort of things. And why do I call this another type of sabotage? Well, let's keep in mind that when something has made it to, I'm using Netflix as an example, by the way, guys, but these are not unbiased, science-backed, research type of things. These are often things that have a lot of money poured into them and often for commercial purposes. There was actually a relatively recent Netflix special about this vegan type of thing. And if you're a vegan, I am not hating on you or anything like that. I think that you need to follow your conscience, wherever that's leading you. However, this special made some claims that were highly lacking in factual basis and that were questionable when it comes to some of the ethical statements made. Many people who are actually dietitians, many people who are unbiased, but care about the long-term health and actual people using facts for things were pretty upset about it. Now, I was one of those people who was upset because I felt that they could have truly found other ways to show why veganism may have been, why vegan diet was working for some of these athletes rather than making unsubstantiated or even false claims and that type of thing. So that's one example, but there are others that there are specials about ketogenic diets, about different fast food things, about, if you name it, there's a special somewhere on it. So if you are going to follow a nutrition program or you're going to change your entire way of eating because you watched a TV special, once again, kind of like what I talked about these cleanses and stuff, consider talking to a dietitian. You could talk with a nutrition coach, which I am, another nutritionist, find out where their certifications are from and make sure that they are grounded in more of a balance, someone that can look at you. For example, if you are vegan, is it someone who can compassionately help you reach your goals with an open mind, taking into account your convictions about your diet choices, and that they're just not going to either kind of pander to you to make you feel better or make you feel stupid or that type of thing. But just because there's a special on it does not mean that it is worth following. Personally, I have a couple of places I strongly recommend often for people to follow. You can check out examine.com. I love Examine because the information on there comes from a place of science. For one, people not trying to sell us a bunch of products. You're not going to go on Examine and someone's trying to sell you like a new piece of workout equipment or some extra special protein powder or something, a magic green pill or something like that. Just great information. And also PubMed. I love to look at PubMed and look at some data. I will often try to find 3 to 5 articles that are peer-reviewed research about various types of anything. It could have to do with immunizations. We're in COVID, so that's often taken our attention, but also nutrition about what works and what doesn't work. So anyway, I call it, there was a Netflix special on this diet. Just because there was a special doesn't mean it's true. And I'm sure all of us could probably find something we've seen on network television that we could look back and say, they didn't really provide the facts quite the way we did. Now, here is another place, just like finding it on Netflix or Amazon or whatever. What about I found it on the internet diet? Look, I'm broadcasting live using the internet. When I'm done with this, I'm going to be uploading the audio from this for my podcast through the internet. I sell my services and all of that stuff through the internet, but I want people to look at what I do with a balanced mind too, knowing that that I'm a human being and I am fallible. I have a pretty high level of integrity. I'm not wanting to mislead my clients or anything like that. But be cautious on the internet, just like Netflix. Just because someone says something in a convincing manner does not mean that it's factual. There was a blogger a few years ago, I believe she went by Food Babe. And I would often read things she wrote, often actually shared by friends of mine who were in the fitness industry and that type of thing. And she said things in a very convincing way, that in such a convincing way that if I didn't have the mindset to go and check her so-called facts through places like PubMed, looking at other type of research, taking advantage. At the time I was still an undergrad. Praise God, I finally finished my grad school work too, but I could actually go to my university library and look up more there, speak to other fitness professionals about it. My then coach, Dr. Lane Norton, dietitians that I knew. And sadly, so much of what she said and the things that were appealing by others or to others from her were just not factual. They were based on bias, based on certain opinions she had. And I think it actually created a lot of division within a nutrition professional world. So keep that in mind, as you know, if this isn't your profession, if nutrition and fitness is not your profession and you're running across things online that look good, maybe they were just really put in a nice, pretty package and they are worded wonderfully and they're appealing and convincing, that doesn't mean they're true. So just because you found it on the internet, I found it on the internet diet does not mean that it's a good place to go. All right. I rewrote this so many times. If you guys are reading this on the little live broadcast I'm doing right now, I call it it worked for my neighbor's brother's best friend's boss's mom's diet. Just kind of like it worked for me last time. Just because it worked for someone else or someone told you it worked for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Seen this a ton with a lot of the more intensely restrictive diets where people lose, they might lose a lot of weight in a short amount of time. Most of the time, as someone asks me about that, I will often give them a warning that it has been my experience, both my own personal experience and that I have seen within my clients, friends, that type of thing, that weight lost quickly comes back with a vengeance and usually brings extra friends in the name of additional pounds with it. So a lot of these extreme weight loss things that you see pictures of, someone will say, I lost, 20 pounds in 3 weeks, or I lost 50 pounds in 3 months. I see a lot of claims, and I'm not saying that they are all extreme and bad and not lasting, but a lot of them aren't. Also keep in mind that often people will tell someone that they've achieved something and it might not really be what it is. So by the time your neighbor's brother's best friend's boss's mom's tells your buddy that you're telling that you want to lose some weight, by then there could be this kind of game of mixed signals and mixed messages and what they did and what worked and what didn't work. So just like I'm saying in all these other things, make sure that what works for you is what works for you. We are all individuals. I can tell you what works for my husband, who has a super high metabolism, and what works for me are very different. I have daughters who are built. I have a daughter actually who's built kind of similar to me, is a little bit shorter, but similar body type. And I can assure you that what works for her at 20 years old is not going to work for me at 46 years old. So let's all keep that in mind as well. This is right up there with the Netflix diet. I call it the flashy flavor of the month or the year diet. When I was growing up, and if any of you are Generation Xers and baby boomers, you know what I am talking about here. It was, everything was fat-free. There were brands that really, what was the one called? Snackwell, I think it is. One of these companies made all of these fat-free cookies and fat-free this. I would get these huge jars of like Jelly Bellies, and I eat the whole jar as it was fat-free, you know, that sort of thing. And that was like all the rage, everything at that time. And then I mentioned what happened when Beyonce did Dreamgirls. Cleanses made a huge thing. That was the fad of actually about a couple of years, where these cleanses that had long been considered unsafe and risky for weight loss were coming back with a vengeance and that sort of thing. And we've had the no carb, the paleo, we've had them all. I'm not saying those are all fads, but it may not be what you should be doing. So, and that sort of thing. All right. So I kind of went into the whole factor of types of diets, the way people diet. What works for someone may not work for you. Just because you saw it on Netflix or the internet may not mean that that's the best thing you should do. Now, let's go ahead and talk about what to do when you do have a really good, solid, balanced nutrition plan in front of you. One that's going to work. Sure, you may not lose all the weight you want to lose in the blink of an eye, but you got a good plan and you're excited about it. Eventually, time is going to become an issue. So I'll call this area of sneaky sabotage. It's the time factor. And what really would say is, I just can't find the time. Well, what we can be sure to know is time is never found. It's always made. This happens even more as we become parents and as we grow in our careers. Some of you who might be college age listening to this, yes, when you go to college, your social life might get a little bit more busy. You're responsible a lot more for how you spend your days. And that time, man, it just sneaks up on you. And before you know it, it's gone. So finding the time is not a good plan for getting that great nutrition plan that we talked about that you have in front of you put in action. You have to make the time. Now, even when you make the time, you could have, said, okay, honey, I'm going to be home at 5. I got in early so I could get out of work early, and I'm going to be at work at home. I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied here. This is going to be awful in my podcast, but I'm going to show it anyway. Finding the time. So I talked about early on a way that sabotaging things can happen to us, how time can slip away, often because things happen. So the one I shared is, the unexpected interruptions. Here I am recording this on a Tuesday afternoon, the day before we could be expecting snow. I've seen everything between 5 and 8 inches up to 18 inches. I don't know. But let's say that we weren't expecting any snow and we wake up and then sure enough, there's snow on the ground and we can't get out. And hey, it happens from time to time. It's an unexpected thing to plan for. And how am I going to plan for that? How am I going to plan for the unexpected thing that keeps me from getting home on time so that I can make dinner and still have time to get the kids to the sport things or whatever that is? Well, we're going to do that by keeping prepared foods on hand, keeping healthy snacks virtually everywhere we are, and learning the menus, even at fast food restaurants, because unexpected things are going to happen. When I was a stay-at-home mom, by the way, I totally miss those days. I did something called once a month cooking. I'd heard about it on this radio program. I ended up talking to a couple of other stay-at-home moms. There were a lot of us as young military wives who kind of, we were like nomadic, traveling with our spouses wherever they were to be stationed. And a couple of us would get together once a month, and literally we'd make like massive amounts of food together, and we'd have all this food frozen. I don't know how I did that with babies, but I did it. But I look back, wait, I do know how I did it. I planned for it. I'd call friends and say, hey, I'm going to get these ingredients and you get those ingredients, and we would just cook all day. Now, my life personally is not conducive of doing that. Maybe yours is. Maybe that's an idea I gave you, and I hope you enjoy it. If so, go run with it, have fun with it. But most of us could double up on recipes from time to time. So if you're making a really healthy, maybe it's a high fiber zoodles type of recipe, you've learned how to make zucchini noodles and you're having a great dish with that, go ahead and double it up, put some in a bag or in a little container so that you have that for the just in case, because the just in case is going to happen. Preparing meats ahead of time that can be frozen, maybe chopping chicken up nice and small and that type of thing. Keeping some prepackaged foods on hand. Look, prepackaged foods of today are not like the TV dinners that we had when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I don't remember what they were called, but they were nasty. They would come in these like little, I guess like aluminum containers. Thankfully, my parents, being Cajun, we took a lot of pride in our food, so we didn't eat a lot of those. But when I did have them from time to time, I was like, oh, this is awful. But anyway, there actually are healthy choices. They're the lower sodium contents, higher protein, less preservatives, more truly cooked, fresh foods that have been freeze packed nicely. Keeping things like that on hand really is a great way to have things on hand for when the unexpected happens. And then learn menus. I have found that it's quite helpful to know that I can go to Chick-fil-A if I'm in a rush and get grilled chicken nuggets, and I can get a kale salad. By the way, the kale salad is so small. I think it should be 3 times the size it is and everything. But learning those types of things, learn what options are at the restaurants you're going to. This is really more important than ever for those of us who are on the go a lot. I'll be the first to tell you that in my first few years of personal training, I was in my car a lot. I drove about 550 on average miles a week. Very often I was actually grabbing unhealthy food at fast food places, even when there were healthy options available, because I would just take like a quick glance at the menu and I would just kind of order the first thing that seemed appealing and then be rushed and trying to hurry to and from clients. And even though as a personal trainer, I was still trying to balance the whole being on the road to train my clients, to getting on the road to get my kids to practice, to everything. So I learned that the hard way. But anyway, more than ever, we have so many amazing options. There are cooler bags that are like small duffel bag type things, and even smaller where you can have refrigeration with you all day long if needed. So keep healthy food with you all the time. Now, here's an area I speak on because it's one, if I didn't struggle with it personally, I wouldn't have the understanding of how frustrating it is when you don't really know how to prepare a few meals at a time, or your kitchen is not set up in such a way that it's easy to prepare food. More of my clients have shared with me that they don't like doing food prep because it's frustrating than because they just don't want to do it. And having conversations with clients, have learned that when we can create spaces that are efficient, a totally clear counter, having a cabinet or a drawer that is devoted to your food storage type of things, making sure that you know how to prepare certain types of foods so that they freeze well or that they refrigerate well, that sort of thing. I actually just finished a book called Kitchen Sink, and that's spelled SYNQ. So, and it's about syncing the kitchen with our goals. And I go into this book talking about the basic tools to have in a kitchen and how to use them, everything from what you cut your food with to how you store your food, different ways to prepare food ahead of time, a list of types of foods to keep in the refrigerator or in the pantry and that type of thing. But anyway, I didn't want to get off track there, but I did the book, and I'm doing this aspect of this podcast because I know that this is possibly the number one issue that keeps people from doing what we call food prep. And that's just preparing a few meals ahead of time so that you are set up for success in the days to come. All right. So let's see. On that note, I want to talk to you a bit about making your space efficient. It's really easy to accumulate a lot of crap in your kitchen that you don't need, that you don't want, that you don't use. We keep things because they're cute. We keep things because someone gave them to us. We keep things because once upon a time we used them. We keep them because maybe we will eventually use them. Anyway, almost everyone I know has a bunch of garbage in their kitchen, and I'm calling it garbage because it's garbage if you're not going to use it. So get that stuff donated to someone, clear some space, make it efficient and pleasant. And then once you have gotten rid of the things that you don't need, you get to start looking at the things that you really do need. My husband, he got this, oh gosh, what are they called? I'm having like a brain fart moment. Food preservation, you suck out all the air to basically store our food. I have no idea why I can't think of the words right now, but that has really made it easy to freeze more food, to make more space. Plastic containers with lids and things. First of all, we're always losing the lids or the bottoms of the containers and everything, and they take up more space than we need. They're never quite the right size. So having something that you could just cut, to size for what you need and drop that in the freezer, it's so nice to have. It's also nice to be able to defrost your foods in there. For example, I can take meat and put all of the things I want to marinate in it. Maybe I'm going to put some red wine vinegar and some garlic and whatever, all the yummies that I'm going to put in there so that my meat tastes great. And then it's ready. I freeze it. And when it defrosts, it's marinating as it's defrosting. Things like that. It makes such a huge difference. So let's go ahead and make sure that your space is efficient. And you know what? Take advantage if you want. If you're on a budget, while you're at it, while you're getting rid of all that crap you don't need, go onto your yard sale site and sell some of that stuff. You would be amazed the number of people that want that mixer that you're never going to use. You're going to be amazed by the number of people who want the nonstick pan that you thought you would need, but it was always too big. Someone wants that big old pan, right? So make your space efficient. Now, I want to get back to the issue of storage. When we talk about our amount of efficient space we have, go ahead and let yourself get creative with that. If you have a furnace room or another closet that you're not using, consider putting your large appliances in there, things that you don't use all the time. For example, I have a slow cooker. I used it a lot more when my kids were younger than I do now. I find that I use it even less because we have this Ninja like all-in-one thing that I can slow cook in. But I still want to keep my big slow cooker for when I'm cooking for a large group of people or when I'm doing larger meal prep. So when it comes to your storage, get those large appliances into a place that they're not taking up a ton of space in your kitchen. Believe me, the more you do this, the more efficient and pleasant all that space will be for you in your food prep areas. Now, if you are really struggling with feeling like, oh my gosh, Gretchen, like that's way too much information. I got to figure out like what kind of diet is healthy and balanced and everything else. And I'm going to clean the kitchen and make efficient space and have the right tools, whatever else. Hold on a second. Slow down your thoughts. Calm down. Let's start with some little things. So an assignment I would give you guys, this little practice you can do when you're done listening to this podcast is get out a piece of paper, a journal, notepad on your phone, whatever it is you like to record on, something that you're going to pay attention to. And just look at the things that are sabotaging to you personally. It could be that, maybe you don't have the most efficient space to work with in the kitchen, but that's not really your struggle. Maybe your struggle is the temptation of the fast food or something like that. write down a list of as many sabotaging factors as you could think of regarding your food choices or lack of food choices. Is it that there's no fruit in the house? Is that why you're not eating fruit? Do you not eat a lot of veggies because you don't like vegetables? Is it possible you could add some greens, some green powders or supplements into there? Are you feeling that because you're vegan, there aren't enough protein options to you? Write those things down. Those are all sabotaging factors. And often the doubt and the fear and those overwhelming thoughts we have, they can become untruths that we tell ourselves. And we get in the cycle of sabotaging thinking, and we get in the habit of not planning to eat properly. And it really can feel defeating. So my hope for you guys is that you will find that the information I've shared about diet, about how to choose what to eat and how to prepare and store what you're going to eat to plan for success, how that can all help you on your goal. My next podcast about sabotage, we're going to talk about sabotaging relationships and relationship habits when it comes to our fitness goals. And I'm looking forward to doing that one too. Anyway, thank you for listening to me, your Mind, Body, Life coach. This is Gretchen. I hope you have an outstanding rest of your day as we are in the midst of a holiday season. I pray that you and yours are doing wonderful. Thank you. Bye-bye.